bill is set down for committee stage forthwith. I declare the House in committee for consideration of the New Zealand Flag Referendums Amendment Bill. Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Speaker. Members, the House is in committee on the New Zealand Flag Referendums Amendment Bill. The question is... Point of order.
Mr. Chairman, I think for the House being committee, need a minister in the chair.
Thank you. It's not quick enough.
The question is that part 1 stand part.
Mr. Chairman.
I call the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr. Chairman, I want to start on my first speech on this, and I think there'll end up being a number of them, on focusing on how badly this particular part of the bill is drafted and how embarrassed the government, and if the Green Party originally drafted it, they should be at how misleading the explanatory note is when compared to what's actually in the bill. We were told by the Prime Minister, we were told by Gareth Hughes, that the effect of this legislation was to take the current 4 designs and to add 1 to them. That is not what happens in this legislation. What happens in the bill as drafted is that the Order in Council, which had the current 4, which had been selected and endorsed by the Prime Minister, is rescinded, and an opportunity for any old 5 to be included. We're being asked to vote for that today. Any old 5. Now, and Mr. Chairman, the Labor Party later on in the debate will be provided the opportunity for, in fact, there'll be 6, because there is a lot of debate going on at the moment about ways of improving, taking the opportunity to improve this bill, not to do what Mr. O'Rourke wants to do and put the current flag in there as one of the early options, although that would make a bit of a nonsense of the second referendum. Do you want this one or that one? But the Tino Rangatira flag and the silver fern flag are 2 which the Twitterati think are better options for New Zealand than the red pink one. But I just ask, can I ask the Minister in the chair, or by way of interjection, Gareth Hughes, is this the Green Bill just relabelled? Is the Green Bill relabelled? Well, I think we'll forgive the Greens to a certain extent their lack of expertise and their lack of constitutional understanding. But all they had to do was to add 1. And in fact, if they really wanted red peak to be included, they should have said so in the body of the bill. But the Green Party, in doing their drafting, we'll be generous and say it's inexperience. I know my colleagues have something a little bit stronger than that. We'll say it's inexperience, but if they wanted to get it right, if they'd consulted with anyone and really just wanted the red peak flag added, then what they would have done was to give us a bill which added red peak. Instead, what they do is that they once again scrap the current 4 and hand over to John Key the power to pick any 5 that he wants. And I just say, Mr. Chairman, that is a degree of naivety, a degree of silliness, and a degree of lack of maturity on the part of the Green Party, which I think is causing some problems. Well, I think it's, and so what's the other important point, and I think it is a pretty vital point, and one on which there's been almost no focus, because what it does in clause 5(1) in section 13(1) of the current Act, what it does is replace the 60-day limit for the Ordering Council with a 40-day limit. And my understanding is that what that does is give before the referendum. So there's a period. There's about another 2 weeks. There's about another 2 weeks that the country has got to express its opinion as to which 5 flags should be part of that, should be put before the country. So it's not just, it's a quite important point. It's not adding red peak, it's scrapping the 4 and saying any old 5 that the Cabinet decides, but then more importantly, it says that we have a period, Mr Chairman, it says that we have a period of another couple of weeks to decide which those 5 should be. Now, I know that the National Party don't like it, and I know the Green Party don't like it that much, but in the original cross-party group, and I'll give credit to New Zealand First, they saw the con job that John Key was pulling on the country before we did. You know, I want to apologise to my colleagues. You know, someone of my experience should know that these cross-party groups of this sort of approach are subject to a cabinet coming right over the top, ignoring what was agreed by the group, imposing a panel different from the one that the group wanted, and not in this particular case, and the specific amendment I'm referring to is the one in my leader's name, in the name of Andrew Little, not taking the view of every single party present at the group when it was discussed, and I include the Green Party, and I include the ACT Party, and what's Peter Dunn's party called these days? United. And I include the United Party. All of those parties in the Labour Party agreed. All of those parties in the Labour Party agreed that there should be a yes/no vote, as there was with MMP. A yes/no vote, 85%, I think it was passed by. John Key said, you know, if people don't know which option's going to be, people wouldn't vote, they wouldn't know what they're doing. Well, he was just wrong. So what we have is an amendment before the House on this part of the bill, which is in the name of Andrew Little, which would add to the ballot, a yes/no question. Now, I do understand from the Green Party that they've done a dirty deal with the National Party, and they won't stay with their principles. They've been indicated at earlier stages of the bill and support that. And I think that's sad, but I do want to say that the current polling has over 80% of New Zealanders want to have a yes/no. Yes, no. I can't tell if he's wobbling or if he's shaking his head. Paul Foster-Bell, the man who's got the Union Jack on his tie, seems not to accept the polling that's been run, including by the New Zealand Herald, that about 80% of New Zealanders think it's appropriate to have a yes/no vote at the beginning of the process. Well, all we are saying is that the Labour Party has listened to those people. We talked to them. We did quite a lot of door knocking on it. We did some surveying on it. And it doesn't matter which part of Hutt South you go to, people say, you know, isn't it logical? Isn't it? Sorry? No. In fact, the member over there is chipping. Both those members are chipping while Chris Bishop's up in Oharu knocking on doors. Well, Chris Bishop is up in Oharu knocking on doors because those members both know that as soon as Peter Dunn indicates he's going to retire, then Chris Bishop wants to be the candidate for Oharu. Well, sorry, Mr. Speaker, I probably shouldn't have responded to the interjection from Paul Foster-Bell. But what people can see on the second page, on the back page of the SOP, in the name of Andrew Little, is a new schedule, a relatively simple schedule. It's one which is not at all complicated, and I want to say, frankly, it's not that original. I don't want to criticise my leader and his SOP, but the format of it was taken from the MMP referendum. The format of it was taken from the MMP referendum, the two questions. It is a bit different because under the MMP referendum, the ballot in that case was a first past the post ballot. And as we know, MMP, it didn't really matter whether it was preferential or first past the post because MMP won it, would have won a preferential on the first ballot because it got more than 50% anyway. So there are, in Andrew Little's SOP on the schedule, which I understand we're referring to because it is...
I call